Hello, Christina with the Turned Leg. Last week's video, I showed you guys a dollhouse that I had been making over into a gingerbread house for the holidays. Now, I'd been working on this over on Facebook. By the way, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram if you want more of the Turned Leg. Find me over there. I do lives every week. And a lot of people said, like, we want to see the whole process. So this video is going to be exactly that. I take a curbside rescue, a little sad dollhouse that I found out on the curb, and I use a little bit of paint, DIY paint to be exact, and IOD molds, and I transform it into a wonderful gingerbread house that will last many, many years. So come along, and then at the end, you can see it behind me just a little bit. I don't want to show you too much because I want to show you the whole process. It is really even turning out better than I thought. But wait until the end, see the big reveal, and hopefully this will inspire you to turn something into a forever gingerbread house for yourself. It doesn't have to be something this large. You could even do it with a little block of wood. Here is my curbside rescue dollhouse with original artwork. It needed a makeover using DIY paint, Deb's Design Diary. This is all natural clay-based paint. It is the good stuff. It sticks to everything, and it is one of my go-to paints. This color, though, is a gingerbread color that I created. They do not have a gingerbread color, so let me show you the colors I used. The perfect thing about a gingerbread color is the warmness, so I needed 3 colors to achieve this. I used 3 parts of Summer Crush, the orange, 1 part cake batter, and a half a part of layered chocolate, and mixed it well. And then I just painted it on. Check out the coverage. DIY paint always amazes me at how well it covers. It is just so heavily pigmented and does a great job. It will need 2 coats overall, but we're off to a great start. The best part about making a gingerbread house is decorating it, and you can go crazy. You can follow your heart here. I decided the first thing I wanted to do was add my frosting look. I'm mixing DIY White Swan and a little bit of the paint frosting from DIY Paint, just a capful, mixing it together. It'll make it look just like frosting. To apply it, I am using a palette knife, and it works so good. And my little secret trick was put it on kind of thick because that's what really makes it look like frosting. And you don't have to have white frosting. You could add this to any color DIY paint, like pink or green or whatever you would like. I also put the frosting on the roof line, and I love how it looked. Next step, more decor. If you see, there are cute little peppermint candies and candy canes. I'm going to show you how I make those. I'm going to be using IOD, Iron Orchid Design molds, and I'll be using it with air-dried clay. First thing I'm going to do is add a little cornstarch to the mold. This helps to prevent it from sticking. These molds can be used for so many other things like resin, even chocolate, even baking. The air-dried clay still is one of my favorites, and to get your clay ready, I like to work it between my hands to kind of soften it up. It also really helps to have fresh air-dried clay. If your clay is kind of dried out, it's going to be more difficult to work with. The next step is to just press the clay into the mold, and I've gotten really good with using the side of my thumb to kind of get rid of the excess clay as I go. But you could use some sort of a flat surface. I've even heard that people use old gift cards, and they work really well too. Once you've gotten everything the way you like it, you're going to flip over your mold and peel it back. Don't just expect the clay to come right out. I just kind of peel it back, and it works really, really well. And you want to very carefully, there I'm kind of helping it, release the clay from the molds. I find smaller molds can be a little trickier than larger ones, so if you're a newbie, maybe start with the larger ones first. The next step is to stick the mold onto the gingerbread house, and I don't wait for them to dry. I do it right away. You have to be careful. I am using tight bond glue, wood glue, for my application. Any strong glue will work. I'm also grabbing some DIY White Swan paint. I'm going to paint the molds while they are still wet. Once I have the glue painted on, I am going to put the snowflake where I want it. Probably a really good idea to be laying this down, not working on a vertical space, but I like to do things difficult. Then you want to very carefully paint with your paint while the mold is wet. If you let your molds dry naturally, they will crack, and this helps to reduce the cracking. And now you just have fun and add as many molds as you want. I did get some DIY paint where I didn't want it. It's a real easy cleanup with a little Q-tip and some water, or you could paint your molds before you glue them in place. Completely up to you. I also used a couple more molds for this project. One of them was the IOD sugar and spice mold. This mold is discontinued, so it's getting harder and harder to find. I still have a few in my online store, but it was really good for candy canes and the peppermint. The other mold that I was using here for the trim is called Trimmings. There are 1 through 4, but I am using Trimmings 3. The process for any mold is the same with air dry clay cornstarch, but I found if I rolled it into like a long snake, it seemed to work better and fill the mold. And since the table I was working on was not very clean, I used the back of another mold to roll out that snake, and it worked really well. And then a bunch of gluing and painting. And I also found that if I painted the area around the molds, it really gave it a cohesive look. Did you notice how dark it looks now? I did spray a spray sealer just to see what the gingerbread would look like sealed. The project is not done yet, but I'm loving how it's turning out. I just think it needs a little bit more decoration, and actually the sides are not done yet. So let me show you what I did to the sides. I went on Pinterest to look up a lot of ideas on how to deal with this chimney, and there's lots of ways to do it, but one easy thing was just to paint with white swan in the chimney bricks to make them look like they were blocks put together with frosting. A little bit of white paint on a gingerbread house can really go far and really make it look whimsical. I also had to add a little bit more trim in spots and just finish the whole piece off. Now it was time to add the landscaping, and I was going the simple route. I visited the dollar store, I got out my glue gun, I got some styrofoam, some fake snow, and just some little bottle brush trees. First, I'm going to dry fit all of the styrofoam and put it in. It did end up that one side was a little bit higher than the other. I might go back and tweak that at a later date. I also wanted to dry fit the bottle brush trees. They're way bigger than I need for this project, so I'm just cutting them down. I did have to get some pretty heavy-duty wire cutters just to cut them. The pliers I had were not working. Obviously, when I put them in for real, they will be nice and straight. The next step was cutting out some snow. This is just what I had. There's so many things you could use, including batting. I just wanted a little piece to cover the cardboard, and then I just hot glued everything in place. I hope you enjoyed this project. It was seriously so much more fun than I thought it would be. And I think that's why it's still not completely finished. Like, I still have so many more ideas, things I want to do. In fact, this morning I found a curbside rescue. Now, I was excited. You might not be. Let me show it to you. And that was this big board of wood that just is absolutely perfect to put my gingerbread house on. And then I could decorate, make a whole village, or I could have a snow scene, or snowmen, or gingerbread people, or see, the possibilities are seriously endless. And I think once you start a project like this, you are just going to be flooded with creativity. And nowadays, that's not a bad thing, is it? So let me show you where we're at with the gingerbread house, and I hope this has inspired you to do something gingerbready for yourself. To get all the paint and products that I used on this gingerbread house, you can head to my website at shoptheturnedleg.com. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Let me know what was your favorite part about the gingerbread house, and if you were going to design your own, what would you include? I think it's such a nice idea to have a more permanent gingerbread house. I know some people are very traditional, but it always seems a shame that you have to like throw them out at the end of the year. This way you can have a special little gingerbread house that you can keep and use year after year. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.